Audubon's Account of the New Madrid Earthquake by M.L. Fuller. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit Librivox.org. Within the last few years, there has been a reawakening of interest in the New Madrid earthquakes, as evidenced by the papers of Dr. W. J. McGee in the fourth volume of the Geological Society of America, Dr. G. C. Broadhead in the American Geologist in August 1902, and Professor E. M. Shepard in the January-February number of the Journal of Geology of the present year. In Broadhead's paper are given abstracts of a considerable number of contemporaneous and other early publications on the earthquake phenomena, but the description by Audubon seems to have been overlooked, as he was one of the few, quite possibly the only, scientist who was in the region at the time. His account is of interest. It is of significance that it agrees very closely with the descriptions of many of the residents, indicating that the accounts are probably not so distorted as has sometimes been thought. Audubon's description is in part as follows. Traveling through the barrens of Kentucky in the month of November, 1812, I was jogging on one afternoon when I remarked a sudden and strange darkness rising from the western horizon. Accustomed to our heavy storms of thunder and rain, I took no more notice of it, as I thought the speed of my horse might enable me to get under shelter of the roof of an acquaintance who lived not far distant, before it should come up. I had proceeded about a mile when I heard what I imagined to be the distant rumbling of a violent tornado, on which I spurred my steed with a wish to gallop as fast as possible to a place of shelter. But it would not do. The animal knew better than I what was forthcoming, and instead of going faster, so nearly stopped that I remarked he placed one foot after another on the ground with as much precaution as if walking on a smooth sheet of ice. I thought he had suddenly foundered, and speaking to him was on the point of dismounting and leading him, when he all of a sudden fell a-groaning piteously, hung his head, spread out his four legs as if to save himself from falling, and stood stock still, continuing to groan. I thought my horse was about to die, and would have sprung from his back had a minute more elapsed, but at that instant all the shrubs and trees began to move from their very roots. The ground rose and fell in successive furrows like the ruffled waters of a lake, and I became bewildered in my ideas, as I too plainly discovered that all this awful commotion in nature was the result of an earthquake. The fearful convulsion, however, lasted only a few minutes, and the heavens again brightened as quickly as they had become obscured. My horse brought his feet to their natural position, raised his head, and galloped off as if loose and frolicking without a rider. Shock succeeded shock almost every day or night for several weeks, diminishing, however, so gradually as to dwindle away into mere vibrations of the earth. Strange to say, I for one became so accustomed to the feeling as rather to enjoy the fears manifested by others. The earthquake produced more serious consequences in other places. Near New Madrid and for some distance on the Mississippi, the earth was rent asunder in several places. One or two islands sunk forever, and the inhabitants fled in dismay towards the eastern shore. M. L. Fuller, U.S. Geological Survey. End of Audubon's Account of the New Madrid Earthquake by M. L. Fuller.
Bashfulness by Anna Koromowit Ritchie. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or how to volunteer, please visit Librivox.org. How often bashfulness passes for humility, for a painful want of self-appreciation, for a modest under-evaluation of one's own merits. The self-consciousness which gives rise to bashfulness almost always springs from sensitive self-esteem.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?